Welcome, everyone, to the onpoli podcast. I'm Steve Paikin.
And I'm John Michael McGrath.
Today, as we beam into your podcast feed, do you feel $200 richer? We'll focus on the province's $3 billion giveaway.
It's flu and COVID season. Are you going to get your shots?
The Premier had some fun this week at the expense of the MPP for Sudbury, whom he mischievously accused of playing cards in the back row instead of representing his constituents.
And the Minister of Finance, Peter Bethlenfalvy, will be here to answer our questions about this week's fall economic statement. It's Friday, November 1st, 2024, so let's get to it.
Hey, partner. A little sugar off the top, as per usual. Now, I know a lot of people listen to this show as opposed to watch it on YouTube, but can I humbly suggest that this might be one of those episodes that they should watch instead of just listen to?
Yeah, I think, we are recording this on Halloween, and so we thought it would be appropriate to wear some costumes. And if you're listening at home, you're going to miss the sight of you in a very fetching original series Star Trek uniform and me with some Star Trek insignia on. So
I'm totally channeling the spirit of James Tiberius Kirk as I sit here in this beautiful yellow tunic, and I'll give it the push down like that, and there we go. I feel good to go. So, shall we get to issue one?
Let's get to it.
Okay, Mr. Scott, warp speed now. Back in the day, Ontario's fall economic statement was a very brief update on the state of the province's books. Now it's become a much bigger deal, almost like a second budget day, with new programs introduced and goodies to give away. Of course, the big highlight in this week's statement was the plan to give every Ontarian and eligible child a $200 cheque. JMM, let's get some more details on the fall economic statement.
Right. So there's been some changes in the government's fiscal state since the spring budget. The province's deficit will be $6.6 billion projected for this year. That's about $3 billion lower than was forecast when we last got a major update in the spring. The province's debt to GDP ratio is also continuing to fall. Good news if you're the finance minister. That means a lower debt burden for the province going forward. Ontario is projected to have a surplus of $900 million in 2026 and a deficit of just $1.5 billion next year. But remember what I said about a $3 billion improvement just between spring and now. So if the province's finances improve by even half as much as they already did in the last 6 months, the government could conceivably balance the books even a year ahead of schedule. I'm sure we will talk to the finance minister about that later today.
That's a very good point.
It does leave the possibility of a spring election coming on the heels of a balanced budget.
And as you point out, the finance minister will be here soon, so we will save some of our questions for him and move right on now to issue 2. The province announced this week that free flu and COVID shots are now available. And do I hear right? Have you been a good citizen? And have you got out there and got the jab already?
I actually did before it was announced, because I had heard from one of our colleagues here at TVO that some pharmacies essentially jumped the gun and last week were offering shots to all ages because there just wasn't a lot of demand. And so I walked in on Friday and said, hey, can I get my COVID shot? And they were like, yep, sure. It was very straightforward. I was going to get my flu shot anyway, because when I first came to Queen's Park over a decade ago, Deb Matthews was the health minister, and she always used to harangue reporters about making sure they got their flu shot. So I always have Deb's voice in the back of my head around this time of year.
I will be interested to see how much uptake there is on it this year. I know they're out there advertising now that the free flu shots and COVID shots are available. But we also know that a lot of people, for whatever reason, have just had it with COVID, and they are not interested in getting any more shots. Maybe they're going to mask up if they're in crowded places, but they're just not into it anymore. They're so over COVID. So I don't know what the prospects mean in that regard.
Yeah, and the government has also been quieter this year. Last year, when we got to this time of year, the government did put out at least a statement from the medical officer of health, Dr. Kieran Moore, saying, it's the start of, I think they were calling it vaguely the respiratory virus season or respiratory infection season, referring both to flu and COVID. So far this year, I'm pretty good about keeping up on the press releases I get from the government, and I haven't seen anything from Dr. Moore. Certainly hasn't been anything like a press conference or anything like that. he's kind of gone silent. And, I think the government has taken a much a quieter role.
You're being generous here. He's being silent for a good reason, don't you think?
Well, I think the government very much just wants to move on from any kind of thoughts of the pandemic and certainly public health measures. And they still, I think there's some resentments in provincial politics about how how politicians ended up wearing a lot of the blame for public health measures that were recommended by public health experts. That's a whole other story. As I say, I think the Premier has decided that, or at least the Premier's office has decided COVID is over and we're not going to talk about it anymore.
Even though wastewater is still showing signs of it all.
And I mean, we still don't exactly have a hospital system that is able to deal with even a bad flu season, much less the fact that COVID is still out there. So
there we are. And with that, we're off to issue 3. Well, it seems the Premier can't help himself when it comes to trying to find candidates to run in the next provincial election. Earlier this week, he was in Sudbury to make an announcement, and just before he left the microphone, he felt that he needed to point out that the local MPP, Jamie West of the NDP, wasn't giving Sudbury the representation the Premier felt it deserved. Here is what he had to say.
I got to leave it with this. I can't help myself. Folks, we need a voice down at Queen's Park for Sudbury, because the guy you have down there is sitting in the corner playing cards. We have the mayor, a phenomenal mayor, by the way. What are you doing in the next couple of years, Mayor? I can't help myself, but...
So we can note here that the mayor of Sudbury is Paul Lefebvre, who was actually a Liberal MP, federal MP. So the Premier might be out of luck there. I can't help but remember the last Premier who waded into the politics of Sudbury specifically. She was Kathleen Wynne at the time, and she came to regret it, right? Her aides in her office were accused of corruption in their role of trying to manage a Liberal nomination there. So I don't know, man. It's a big old province, but I would leave Sudbury alone.
Well, Sudbury hasn't, I sort of appreciate the Premier's interest in this riding because Sudbury hasn't gone Tory since 1985. And if you look around Northern Ontario, there are other ridings like Kenora, Timmins, Nipissing, Sault Ste. Marie. They have all gone Conservative since then. They are Conservative right now. Sudbury has stayed stubbornly Liberal or New Democrat for almost 40 years. So the Premier clearly has the Nickel City in his sights, and he wants that for the next election. Yeah. We shall see. And up next, our conversation with the Treasurer. And we are pleased to welcome Ontario's Minister of Finance, Peter Bethlenfalvy, to our onpoli set for the first time. The Treasurer is also the MPP for Pickering-Uxbridge. And as I like to remind our viewers and listeners occasionally when we have cabinet ministers here, our job is not to fight with our guests or argue with our guests. It is to better understand why they make the decisions they make. And so with that in place, Treasurer, welcome back. It's good to see you again.
What a great preamble. I love it.
Well, happens to have the added benefit of being true. I think that's the gig. JMM, over to you.
So I'm going to start with, I think, the biggest headline from the fall economic statement. Why have you decided to give Ontarians $200 a piece in the new year?
Well, first off, we've gone through a pretty high interest rate environment the last couple of years. Interest rates we haven't seen, inflation that we haven't seen in decades. We're of a certain vintage when we remember inflation being this high, but for many, it hasn't been this high. Big shock. So the cost of groceries, the cost of gas, housing costs have all gone up. And, we're flush with some good revenues right now. And so we're fiscally able to give some money back. It's their money. It's taxpayer money. And particularly the many households that continue to struggle, to give them some help at a time when they need it most. A family of 5, you get $1,000. So it's meaningful to a lot of people in Ontario to get this money at this time.
Let me follow up on what I said in the intro, which is we want to better understand how you made this decision, because presumably the idea here is relief. You could have done what you did. You could have chosen another way to do that, cut the income tax by the same amount of money. Why did you choose this approach?
Well, I think, I love lower taxes. I mean, that's always a path, and we're constantly lowering various types of taxes like gas tax and small business tax and other things like that. But this, when you do a tax return and you wait for the refund, you could be 6, 12, 18 months. This is relief that we can get into people's pockets quickly. So that was the big driver, and people need the money now. Even though interest rates have come down and inflation has come down, the cost of groceries are still up 20%. They're just going up slower now. But, a lot of people that I talk to, not just in Pickering and Uxbridge, but around Ontario, they're struggling to pay the bills. So we have the opportunity to be able to give some of that money back because things are better from a tax point of view.
You mentioned the timing, but the other context to the timing is that everybody in this room has heard the rumors that there might be an election in the new year, that this is a smart political move, not just a fiscal move, to send people checks before you go ask voters for another mandate. Are you going to deny here on our stage that this is a pre-election move as well as a fiscal one?
Well, a big disappointment for you. You're not getting any scoop here. And I got to tell you, we've been working on affordability since day one. Trying to put more money back into people's pockets, whether it's we cut taxes early in the first year, like the small business tax and other things. Return the driver's license fees, the integrated one fare. I talk to people about that integrated one fare. What that means, you can take Durham Transit down to the GO, hop on in Oshawa, take it down to the TTC, and come up here to the TVO studios, and you only pay one fare. Mm-hmm. And I've heard from so many people, not only is that convenient, but they're saving a lot of money. They're paying one time, not 3 times. So we've been focused on that, the gas tax cut that we've extended. This is something that, as a government, we're looking to ways to put money back in people's pockets and reduce the burden of taxes and fees wherever we can. The the previous government did increase a lot of taxes, the driver's license fees, beer tax, wine tax. I frozen the beer tax. I cut the wine tax. We eliminated the driver's license fees. So we're constantly, as a government, thinking about, independent of any election, how can we help people? And we've been doing it for 6 years.
I do remember when Mike Harris was in power, this is going back 25 years now, they did the same thing. They had a $200 check that they mailed to everybody. But in that case, the budget was balanced, and they defined it as, this is in a way a taxpayer's dividend. We've had a very good year, the budget is balanced, we can afford to send you back this money. Your budget isn't balanced. You're more than $6 billion still in the red. So what's the fiscal sense behind this?
There's a lot of fiscal sense. First of all, for the recipients, should I wait 2 years when we're balanced and then give back a check? They need it now. They need help now. Number 2, our fiscal situation, including the year we just closed, the deficit has improved by over $9 billion. Our interest expense has come down. In fact, year over year was down $1 billion. This year it's going to be down $1.2 billion from what we forecast, and over the 3-year period, $4 billion. So we're in much better fiscal shape. I got the credit rating upgrade to AA.
Just with one.
And 2, have us
just
on
with one agent. How many agencies are out there?
There's 4.
And how many gave you a credit?
1 so far.
1 so far. Okay. So
will you invite me back if I get the other 2 that have us on positive watch?
I think the one was it the one you used to work for that gave you the credit rating bump?
Yeah, my team took the credit rating down in 2009, and almost to the day, 15 years later. The shoe was on the other foot, so I had to work hard to get it back up. And almost to the day, DBRS upgraded 15 years between a downgrade and an upgrade.
It was AAA in Bill Davis's day. What is it now?
Yeah, it's AA.
Yeah.
They moved it to AA. So I just believe, just like a family or business, you can't run deficits in perpetuity.
And yet, you could also targeted the $200 checks to people who are truly needy, people who have no fixed address, people who are on much lower incomes. I will get this check.
Say it.
Steve does not need this check, but he will get it.
He's getting it too.
You will get it, right? Even the Toronto Region Board of Trade, generally very pro-business and has said lots of nice things about your government. Not exactly a bunch of radical Marxists, but they said that this money would have been better spent invested in productivity improvements and more better investments for the economy. So why not target it?
Well, you may not need it, but the vast majority of Ontarians, I can tell you, are struggling to make the bill payments. Rent costs have gone up, mortgage costs. People are still rolling over a number of mortgages in a much higher interest rate environment. We talked about groceries. people right across the province are many are struggling. So this is just an opportunity to support them at a time that they need it. I think that to the Toronto Board of Trade, it's not an either or. We're actually investing in a lot of productivity-driven measures, not least of which is cutting red tape and regulations, lowering taxes, investing heavily in technology, investing in a more competitive environment. Our energy plan is very pro-productivity. By the way, we're in a pretty good position from an energy point of view relative to a lot of people because we have a pretty clean grid, and now we can really increase that clean grid in nuclear, like in Pickering. I've traveled the world. Many people don't have the same consensus we have for support for nuclear. Europeans want nuclear. The only two countries that I'm aware of that are not supportive of nuclear is Germany and Austria. I know I was in Sweden. They want it. France, of course, the UK, Romania is expanding. So we have many measures that we're taking to improve the economic prosperity and a potential for Ontarians.
I like that question. I want to follow up on your question because you're getting 200, I'm getting 200, you're getting 200. Instead of giving people at this table who, sorry, I'm going to speak for you here, who don't need the $200, why don't you give $600 directly to people who do need it?
I'm giving it to people, the taxpayers of Ontario, putting it back in their pockets. They can choose to do what they want with the money. And let's be clear, we income test a lot of things in this province. We income test disability payments, low-income seniors payments, child care tax credits, seniors tax credits. We've indexed for the most vulnerable the disability payments to inflation. Never been done before by any government. NDP, Liberal, we're the first ones. Same for low-income seniors. In fact, the disability payments have gone up 17% since we took over, including a one-time 5% increase, 4.5% increase in July, indexed to inflation. So we do income test a lot of programs. We are very focused on the most vulnerable and helping them out as well.
Again, this is more along the lines of tell us why you made the decision you made. I know you've heard this in all the feedback, is that, okay, you've got $3 billion extra in your pocket you didn't expect to have. You're returning it to taxpayers in the forms of these checks. Why not spend it on hospitals? We're going into flu season. They're going to want more money from you to deal with that. Why not deal with hallway health care? There were any number of other things you could have spent that money on, but you did this.
No. You see, you're following a line of thinking that says it's either or, because it's and. And if you really look at this fall economic statement and look at the healthcare spending, over the last 2 years, up $10 billion, like significant increases to the healthcare budget.
But their argument would be it could have been $13 billion.
Well, you could put another $100 billion in. We have to respect taxpayers' money, allocate scarce resources, be stewards of taxpayers' money in a way that is efficient and effective. Now, let's look at healthcare for a second, Steve, since you brought that up. Mm-hmm. Look at some of the things that we did in the fall economic statement. We provided funding for the fertility program, $150 million over 2 years to help families. For those impacted, that's an incredible thing. The fertility tax credit. On the medical, we're creating new medical schools here in Ontario for the first time in a long time, increasing the number of seats, making more of them available to Ontario residents and Canadians. But there's another thing we announced on Friday as part of the fall economic statement, the Learn and Stay program. Mm-hmm. That's going to allow for, that's about $88 million over 3 years, 7,300 medical students, the potential to, if they stay in their communities when they graduate as a family doctor, will pay their tuition and a lot of other expenses. I was with some of the students on Friday. They were visibly emotionally impacted by this.
I watched the event. You could see
the burden is big, and they're passionate about being a doctor. So that's going to help roster over 1 million patients. So healthcare and building acute care beds, $50 billion. We're healthcare, home care, digitizing healthcare, more for mental health and addiction. It's not either or, it's an and.
I take your point that it is not either or, but one element where there's been some criticism in the numbers put out with the FES includes the not great targets for the housing starts. The province has a target of building 1.5 million homes by 2031. The target or the projections in the statement show us basically not making that target. At the same time, you are spending $2 billion in infrastructure to help municipalities build more homes, things like sewer and water. But it wouldn't at least some of that $3 billion maybe have been better spent, maybe bumping that $2 billion to 2.5 or $3 billion to really goose those housing production numbers.
Oh, you're falling into the trap again. It's not either
Both in the
or.
same trap.
And the same trap, First off, we got another 7 years to go. So, number two, we've put in billions already. We didn't wait for this fall economic statement to start putting money in. We put a lot in for, as you mentioned, for infrastructure, wastewater, for roads and bridges, and we'll continue to do that. Incentives for municipalities to hit their targets. Pickering hit their target in 2023. They've already hit their target.
You're getting all the local references to Pickering in today, aren't you? Wow. Okay.
Well, I get reelected as the MPP for Pickering Uxbridge, not as the Minister of Finance.
We get you.
So I think, and interest rates, we don't control interest rates. They had an impact on development. They're coming down. That will stimulate activity again. And I set up the Building Ontario Fund, which is going to help with housing. So there's a bunch of tools in our toolkit that we'll continue to deploy. And we're not going to relent on this target because we want to encourage people to come to this great province. I strongly support immigration. Other than Indigenous, everyone came from somewhere else. And, but we need the housing, but we also need the schools. We need the hospitals. We need the long-term care. We need the broadband. Highways and the subways. So we also announced, the $190 billion of 10-year capital to keep building things. And that doesn't happen overnight. That you don't wait till a fall economic statement. You got to keep doing it and update and keep going.
We got time for one last question. And I noticed that you dedicate all of your budgets or economic statements to somebody who's been important in your life. And this one is dedicated to Peter Bethlenfalvy. Not you, but a relative. Who is this guy?
Well, I don't want anyone to think I'm that immodest that I would dedicate the fall economic statement to myself. Well, Peter Bethlenfalvy is a cousin of my father's. And by the way, there are not very many Bethlenfalvys in the world. You can Google it. There aren't too many. 3 of them are named Peter. And there's another younger fellow in Budapest named Peter Bethlenfalvy, but this is my dad's cousin. He lives in Brussels. He's worked in the EU or with the EU for 30, 40 years, refugees, immigration, that sort of thing. And he's visiting my dad, who's still around, flying in tomorrow on Saturday. So I dedicated this budget to a guy who's done great work over the years for many. And my dad's hanging in there. He's 94.
Wow.
And we're all going to have a scotch together. I think.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, we're putting you on notice right now. Next time we get you here, we want to have all the Peter Bethlenfalvys here at once. And we'll interview all of you at once. Treasurer, thank you very much for making the trip into TVO again. It's good to see you again.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you.
And that is the onpoli podcast for this Friday, November 1st, 2024.
You can follow our show on Apple Podcasts so you get notified each time a new episode is available. And you can see the video version of the podcast and our fine uniforms on the TVO Today YouTube channel.
Any feedback you have, we're happy to hear it, good, bad, or indifferent. Write us an email at onpolitics@tvo.org. Please include your first and last name and where you're located.
This week's episode was produced and edited by Matthew O'Mara, video editing by Colin Kish.
Production support from Jonathan Hallowell and TVO's Digital Media Services team.
Our managing editor is Katie O'Connor. Lori Few is the executive producer of Digital. John Ferry is vice president, programming and content.
Special thanks, as always, to our wonderful studio crew for making the set look so darn good. And what's next?
Captain, 2 to beam up.
Agreed. Beam us up, Mr. Scott. Until next Friday, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.